Okay, so we've gone ahead and built our audience. It's 8.5 million people. They are cat owners across Canada, 26% of the population, which is quite a lot of cats. So the first thing we'll do, we'll look at audience overview, and then I'll cover the rest of the tools here. All right. So Persona Builder is just a lot of information. There isn't a lot of action to take. It's just a lot of information about your audience. So I will cover this quickly and talk a lot. The first thing you're seeing here is the summary of the audience. So we have our age and gender split, male to female, the average age. We have language first learned in childhood, the family income, and the education. Okay, so you can check these out. You can hover over these and get a real count of people if you want, and a percentage. We also display this information by index. So the 100% is the average person, and then the percentages are the likelihoods of our audience compared to the average person. We also have segments here. If you need to talk about your audience a little bit more, we've given you, the top 5 segments here. For example, cat owners are 105% more likely to belong to low rise and high hopes than the average Canadian. What's low rise and high hopes? Well, these are people who are located in Quebec and Ontario, around Montreal and Toronto, low rise apartments built in the 80s, well educated, blah, blah, blah. So we give you a lot of this information if you need to talk about your audience a bit. And finally, we also break out the location of cat owners across Canada. So 35% of them are in Ontario, 26 in Quebec, 17 in the prairies, and so on. Okay, so all this is super easy to access. It's in Persona Builder under Audience Overview. The next tool we're going to look at is the Audience Crosstab. The Audience Crosstab is a neat tool. It just lets you ask questions about your audience. So we have our cat owners here, okay? But what if I want to know, how many of my cat owners also own dogs? And how many of them buy lottery tickets in the past 12 months? So you can pose up the 3 questions, which is at the same time sometimes enough, sometimes not enough. But we have another tool that will also help you do more of these. So let's just take a look at the analysis. What we get here is a chart, an X and Y axis chart that, it's a little bit, takes a second to load up. Here we are. So the way this works is at the top we have shopping, pet ownership, and the household dog owners. So people who answered yes to this question, no, this is where the question is. And then we have lottery tickets along the other axis here. Okay, so the way to read this is the row total is 100%. These are all the people who answered the question out of 8.5 million. 33% of our audience of 8.5 million answered no to owning a dog and no to buying lottery tickets, which is why the 33% is here. 15% of our audience of 8.5 million answered yes to buying lottery tickets and yes to owning a dog as well as a cat. Okay, so this is kind of how you would read this. You can look at this by count if you want an actual raw number of people, or if you want a comparison to the average person to see the likelihood of them, doing X or Y. You can do that here as well. Okay, so that's it for the audience crosstab. Let me move on to brighter and bigger things like media usage. All right. So now that we're in the media usage tab, what do we see here? We can see the trend of primary media channel usage over the years for our audience. So if I narrow this down to just social for now, you can see in 2016, you could reach 41% of cat owners as well as 41% of the entire national population via social media. Our audience spent 22.5 hours on social media compared to the national average 14.9. It just means that our audience is more likely to consume social media at almost 1.5x rate. Well, 7.5 hours more than the average person. So you can also follow this trend all the way to 2025 next year, where we estimate you can reach 95% of our audience and 94.9% of the population through social media. And again, it tells you the difference in weekly time spent on the channel. So this comes from GWI, just in case someone wants to ask that question. Yeah, so that comes from GWI. We have channel usage as well. And so this is quite an in-depth tool, and it's a lot to look at, so let me simplify this. Just going off of our last example in media usage, social media, you can see here we have all the other channels. Let's just pretend we're doing a social media campaign now. So this screen lets you see all of the reach percentages for each channel. You can see the objective in the top left here is greatest monthly reach. And so if you hover over different channels, you can see the audience objective efficacy, which is 35%. That means we get 35% reach using print, any form of print. We give the national count, which is how many people in the nation read print. And we also give the percentage. So 11 million is 36% of whatever, 33 million, which is the population of Canada. And then we give our audience count. So 3 million out of 8.5 million people are reachable via print, and that is 35% of our audience. Okay, so that same sort of readout works for any channel. Now, to make this graph a little bit better on the eyes, I want to show you the index filter. What you can do here is you can actually select the channels that are relevant to you. So if we're doing a social media campaign, then I can select just social media placements here, like TikTok, Snapchat. We'll just say LinkedIn, Pinterest, X, Instagram, and Facebook. YouTube. Okay, so now we have a chart that might be a lot more relevant for us to show to a client, or for campaign planning. And then you can save this to report, which I'll cover at the end, or I'll make another video about reports. But essentially, you could save all this information and put it into a report and bring it into like a pitch or a whatever it is you need it for. So that's how this tool works. Finally, you can also change media objectives. We have highest indexing, we have most efficient, we have best for activation, and so on. This is a feature that was requested by a few agencies, people who use ComsPoint. Basically, ComsPoint helps you rank media channels in all sorts of ways, and people wanted to see something similar in Arima. So we've made something similar, and in some ways also a better alternative, because we put MMM data inside. So just to clear this up for everybody who might watch, the highest reach, which is greatest monthly reach, this is the same as before. It just ranks channels by the largest reach possible. We have highest indexing, which is the same as before as well. And then the next 4 objectives are based on both reach of a channel and a coefficient for that channel. The coefficients are basically coming from MMMs. So for brand building, we use based on ROAS of all the brand building MMMs we run. For attention, we use Lumen attention metrics, and for activation, we use the ROAS of all the activation MMMs that we run. And then finally, the most efficient is based on overall spend to output ratio, also using MMM data. So you get some benefit of MMM data in here, and you have a lot of selections in terms of media objectives. If you want to get more specific details on the stuff behind that, the calculations and all that, just let me know. But otherwise, I just wanted to share that we do have some sources and some data behind all these. So that's where they come from. Okay, so that's it for media usage. We're going to move on to the next tool now. It's going to be behavior discovery. This is the last tool here. Okay, so bear with me for a few more minutes and we'll be on to the next. Okay, the behavior discovery module is basically here to discover behaviors, right? Funny. So the way it works is you take your audience, which is for us cat owners, and you can ask them basically any question. You can ask any question about your audience that is in our database. So if I want to know if they personally ate chewed chewing gum in the last 6 months, or how many packages in the last 7 days. If I want to know, does the household have a garden or a balcony garden? Of cat owners, do they actively use Facebook and LinkedIn? Do they enjoy reading newspapers most days, and do they not change the newspaper that they read? Finally, we'll go for one last one. Have they personally stayed in luxury hotels and motels? Okay, in the past, whatever the survey question is. So now I can build this graph, and now we've got all of our queries in a nice little chart here that we can modify. So by default, it's set to index, highest indexing against lowest indexing. We can also look at this as a percentage if we want. So the way to read this is you hover over and you can see actively uses social network Facebook. So 61.9% of our audience have answered a survey question indicating that they actively use Facebook. Um, we can get a national count, which is 19 million out of 33 or close enough. The national percentage is 61%. And then the audience count is 5.3 million out of our 8.5 million audience size. About 5.3 million of our audience actually report to actively be using Facebook. Finally, we have a comparison against the national average, which is 100%. It's bang on. So you could say that cat owners use Facebook just as much as anybody else. So this is all very cool. A couple options you have here is you can group similar attributes. Because we sort by default highest to lowest percent, that means the questions aren't always added up in the right order. So this will put them in order. Now you can see the newspaper stuff all in the same place. Also, we can show top 10, bottom 10. So if you have a gigantic, list of items on it, you might be able to just chop that down to the most important. Finally, you can filter by region. So this would make it, to Ontario only, and then you can also take out questions that you maybe don't want to highlight. For example, maybe we don't care if people don't change the newspaper. Maybe we only want to know about people who strongly agree about changing their newspaper. Okay, so that is it for behavior discovery. The tool has changed a lot since you may have last seen it. If you're an existing user, it's now more of a graph creating tool that gives you all the same information. Okay, so that's it for Persona Builder. Thank you for your time. We're just over 10 minutes here. I'm going to go into the other tools in the next video. And yeah, that's it. Definitely get in touch with me if you have any questions or leave them in the comment section, and then I will answer there. Thanks.